मानुषी के मित्रों को मेरा नमस्कार। वेलकम टू दिस एडिशन ऑफ मानुषी संवाद। आज का विषय है, इज इंडिया चाइना एक्सिस अगेंस्ट पॉलिटिकल इस्लाम एट ऑल पॉसिबल। और ये मैंने सवाल या निशान इसलिए लगाया है क्योंकि मैं भी मानती रही हूँ कि शायद पाकिस्तान से ज्यादा चाइना हमारे लिए बड़ा दुश्मन है। क्योंकि जिस दिन भी भारत सरकार का मन बना कि हमें पाकिस्तान को उसकी असली हैसियत दिखानी है, तो वो संभाल सकते हैं। हमारी तरफ से मिलिटरली वो हमारे बराबरी के नहीं है, और उनकी न्यूसेंस वैल्यू तभी तक बनी रहती है जब तक भारत सरकार थोड़ा नरम दिल रखती है उन पाकिस्तान के प्रति। वहां बराबरी की लड़ाई नहीं है, वहां बेईमानी की लड़ाई है और न्यूसेंस वैल्यू की, ब्लीडिंग इंडिया थ्रू 1000 कट्स, वो वाली लड़ाई चल रही है। जहां तक चाइना का सवाल है, मेरा भी मानना रहा अभी तक, हालांकि दूसरा व्यू भी है, उससे मैं थोड़ा तो परिचित हूं, कि चाइना एक तो बहुत बड़ा है, उसकी इकोनॉमी हमसे बहुत ज्यादा आगे फ्लरिश कर रही है, उसकी मिलिट्री माइट आज फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड के मिलिट्री माइट से कंपेयर कर रही है, उसके बराबर की बन रही है। और हमारे प्रति दुराग्रह की कम से कम पिछले 4-5 दशक से तो चाइना ने अंधेरी मचाया, ऐसा मेरा भी मानना था। 1960s का जो वॉर रहा, जब चाइना ने हमारे पे हमला किया, कई सारे एरियाज हथिया लिए, ऑक्यूपाई कर लिए, हिंदुस्तान को बहुत ही शर्मिंदगी वाली हार झेलनी पड़ी। और तब से रिश्ते कभी भी सुधर ढंग से नहीं पाए। हालांकि हमारा ट्रेड बहुत फ्लरिश कर रहा है उनके साथ, और आदान प्रदान चलता रहता है। दूसरा, ये भी सबको मालूम है, आए दिन बॉर्डर अग्रेशन होता है। अभी हाल ही में 3-4 बड़े बड़े हादसे हुए थे हमारे चाइना के साथ बॉर्डर में। तीसरी बात, पाकिस्तान को तो चाइना बहुत शय देता है, मिलिट्री मदद भी, पैसे की मदद भी। हमारे चारों तरफ जितने भी देश हैं, उनको अपने इन्फ्लुएंस में लाके नेपाल तक को हमारे खिलाफ खड़ा करने की हिम्मत तो केवल चाइना ने दिखाई है। फिर यूएन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल में भारत को जो सीट मिलनी थी, उसको वीटो किया चाइना ने। हालांकि नेहरू के जमाने में ये सीट उनको बिल्कुल हिंदुस्तान को मिल रही थी, फिर भी चाइना को दिलवा दी नेहरू जी ने। ज्यादा ही दरिया दिली दिखाए उन्होंने। उसके बाद इंसर्जेंसी नॉर्थ ईस्ट में सब मानते हैं कि चाइना द्वारा भड़काई हुई है। नक्सल मूवमेंट जो है, मर्डरस माओइस्ट, वो भी माना जाता है कि चाइना ही उनको उठा के रखे है भारत सरकार के इंडियन स्टेट के खिलाफ। और हमारी इकोनॉमी को भी इतना नुकसान पहुंचा रहे हैं, सारी की सारी हमारी जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर जो भी थोड़ा बहुत था, उसका बैंड बजा के रख दिया चाइना ने, अपनी लो कॉस्ट गुड्स को हमारी मार्केट में डंप करके। हालांकि लो क्वालिटी है, पर क्योंकि सस्ती है और देखने में चमक धमक वाली है, ऐसे कई सारे कारण हैं जिससे मैंने भी ये तो प्रण लिया था कि मैं चाइना का माल नहीं खरीदूंगी, कुछ भी हो जाए। और इसके लिए बहुत नुकसान भी झेलना पड़ा कई बार। तो मेरे जैसे व्यक्ति के लिए आज ये इंडिया चाइना एक्सिस की बात करना मुझे भी थोड़ा संकोच हो रहा था, पर मुझे लगा ये जरूरी है समझना, क्योंकि जिस तरह की बातें डॉक्टर वैद्यनाथन, जो एक जाने माने इस देश के इकोनॉमिस्ट हैं, आई वेलकम यू डॉक्टर वैद्यनाथन टू दिस शो, प्लीज जॉइन अस।
Thank you.
केवल वैद्यनाथन ही नहीं, नमस्ते एंड वेलकम।
Namaste. Thank you very much, Madhu
जी,
ji, and
so
thanks for.
I was telling my viewers, Manushi viewers, that even though I held a contrary view, but I take the other view that you represent also
That's fine.
seriously. No, you're not the only one. There are a few other well-wishers of India, like you are, who hold a similar view, and I see that there are good reasons for that as well, especially given our civilizational past. So I want you to explain whether you think India-China axis is possible against political Islam. We know that China is doing a great job in battering Islam within its own boundaries, but as far as Pakistan is concerned, they are certainly egging on and encouraging Pakistan to inflict more and more wounds on us. So please tell
Thank
us
you.
what you think of this. And I'm
Thank
now
you very much,
Ji.
Madhuji. And thanks to the audience of Madhuji's program. And I will be speaking in English because I am not very comfortable in speech in Hindi. So,
थोड़ा थोड़ा
my,
बीच में हिंदी बोल
I
देना.
thank Madhuji because I know her from her what do you call very earlier Manushi days, much before that, if I recall, I was associated with her campaign for the street hawkers. I was for the small traders and other. I was writing, and that's how I came to know about her. Then we had these NGOs, and she organized even a conference, if I remember, around 2010 in Delhi. I participated with Rajiv Malhotra and several others. Anyhow, now first and foremost, let's understand some brief background and then I will come to the thing. First is we have something like 3,500 kilometer of border with China, one of the largest, longest. And of course, Tibet is constituting a big chunk of it. And for the last roughly 2,000 years, in written history at least, whatever we know, we never had any war with each other. No kingdom of China came into India or Indian kings went into China, nothing like that. And this is something which is very important to note, except that 1962, which is just 1 second. யாருப்பா?
आ गए जी. आ
This
गए
is my
डॉक्टर.
dog.
Yes,
I
of
have to
course.
deal with my dog also. Okay. Now, so this we have to 1962 and then recently this Galwan thing. Who she was one of the great philosophers of China, highly regarded, and he was ambassador of China to US. In the late 30s, he gave a speech at Harvard University commemoration. That's our convocation address type. He told that India has conquered China without firing a single bullet. This is something very, very interesting. He later became the VC, chancellor of that Peking University, much later. And in the late 40s, he used to argue that, we have become too non-violent and peaceful, following India. And that's a separate type of an issue. But basically, he was telling that the cultural, civilizational influence of India. Huge number of ministers were sent by the Chinese kings to Burma, and they have collected a large amount of material in mathematics, in Sanskrit, in Pali, in Prakrit, in pertaining to Ayurveda, yoga, so many things. Actually, when Chiang Sheikh left China, ran away, and then went to Formosa, those days it was known. Now it is called Taiwan. And when he went, he carried with him some 13 shiploads. Believe me, six of them were pertaining to Indian material. Indian artifacts, Indian literature, Indian. And if you go to Taiwan, I have been to China also many times. I have been to Taiwan. You will find a huge museum on hilltop, uh, massive floors having Indian material, which were taken in by the ministers from India. So something we should fundamentally recognize is we have a significant amount of cultural linkages with China. First. Second is, kindly note, China has got some 16, 17 study centers on India. We have practically, zero on China, and maybe one in JNU or, we don't have. And maybe people who know Mandarin in India may be less than 100. I am very sure about it. Our knowledge about China, let me underline it several times, comes through Washington Post, New York Times, Pentagon Papers, and whatever we know about China. We do not know China from China itself. This is one important point. We should create. at least 50 centers of China studies in India. See, we are a democracy, we are an open system, all our things are known, our fault lines are known to everybody, caste fault line, religious fault line, regional fault lines, everything. And obviously, very many people are trying to utilize it in another. But we do not know anything at all about Chinese fault lines. We just, and I will, somebody jokingly asked me, can you tell me 7 leaders other than this of China? Some group of experts were there. None could answer. We don't know. Only Z, we say. And the most interesting thing is, all rubbish is written about India by Wall Street Journal and New York Times, and we ridicule it. But whatever is written about China, we immediately say, oh, this is something. And the fundamental point is, with Pakistan, we have LOC, a line of control. There is a very clear demarcation done, but with China, we don't have LOC. We have got LAC, line of actual control. We never demarcated our border with China. This is something people don't understand. No point in telling they crossed, we crossed, and this goes on. So we should have taken steps. We should even now take steps, and they should also agree with that for delimiting our limit, for demarcating on the border. Then only you can, this is something which. So we never studied China through the Chinese eyes. Incidentally, one All India Radio sponsors one person in their Tamil broadcasting station from 1950, paying salary, and nobody knows what is he propagating, what is he sitting there for. But still, he is there in the Beijing radio, and they have a broadcasting of Tamil language things, and they have phenomenal amount of knowledge about our country, which we don't have. This is something which primarily I feel we should try to read or look at it. Second is, 5 religions are recognized in China. Hinduism is not one of them. Catholic, Protestant, Muslim, Islam, and Jewish, so many things. When I was in Shanghai University, I asked many people. They told nobody asked. Unless somebody asked us, why would we go on our own? And this is the state of affairs. Actually, you can imagine. I have written 15 years, so many letters to foreign ministry, embassy in China, our embassy. I don't know what they are doing at all. When the AOL was opened in China, AOL, many of you would have heard about Art of Living. They have this Sri Ravi Shankar. They started so much enthusiasm among Chinese people. They were all there. And according to me, we should have some 50 AOL ashrams in China. We should have some 100 Baba Ramdev yoga centers in China. And we should translate all these Anantapayya's phenomenal amount of comics and Mahabharat, Ramayana and other things. All of that should be translated into Mandarin and distributed. Kindly note one important thing. China is no more a communist country. The only people who believe it's a communist country are, there is a place called Jawaharlal Nehru University. Outside that, there is a place called Ganga Daba. And some people drink tea there in the morning. And only those, students, they think China is a communist country. And some TV experts, they go on blabbering, socialism, communism. Chinese themselves don't think they are a communist country. They say that we are a market economy with Chinese characteristics. The only country which claims itself to be communist today is North Korea. That's all. And of course, some districts in Kerala. That's a separate thing. So that is a type of a situation we should very clearly understand what is happening there. Second is, they are a phenomenal global power. And mark my word, I may not be around, but mark my word, in 7 to 8 years, they would be recognized as single superpower in the world. You see, in 1945, go back in history, US threw atomic bomb in Japan. Actually, war has ended more or less. May itself, May 45, the Germans have surrendered, but still they threw the bomb on Japan. They didn't throw it on Germany or Italy. Remember one important thing: white man will never ever kill white man. They threw it on Asian, Japanese, to test whether their nuclear weapons are working. And for a couple of years, there was and no single country leader condemned US action at that point of time. And a couple of years this was going on, and by 50, US was recognized as the single superpower because they alone had this nuclear thing. Later, Russia also developed mutual deterrence, another thing. We all know the history. Same way, China has got bioweapon today. This Wuhan Health Organization is totally, useless. What is called a World Health Organization, they call. Even today, it is not clear whether it was this COVID has come through the animal or come through laboratory deliberately or otherwise. Nobody knows. A group of scientists went there and they were taken on a conducted tour here and there. If you had gone to Tirupati, you know what I am talking about. Before you reach the god, the fellow will say, Jarigandi, Jarigandi in Telugu. That means go, go, go. Not even 5 seconds you will be allowed to. Your lifelong you would have prayed to be before the god. Same way these scientists and professors were treated in China. So Europe is completely worried about China. One of my colleague in France told me lightheartedly, European leaders wet their pants when they hear about China. Not a single country, sir, has condemned China for this virus, including US. And US is one of the largest trading partner with China. Do not trust white man. Let me tell you 150 times. During the Second World War, one British commander was asked, will you really defeat German? He told, we will fight the Germans to the last Indian. Remember that? Very interesting and very important. So the West is on decline. On that, there is no two opinion.
So
West is on total
explain this.
decline.
You know what you said is very important. Please expand a little bit because some of our viewers may have missed the significance of that sentence. We will
That
fight
we will
to the
fight
last.
the Germans to the last Indian. He never told to the last Englishman. So kindly remember this. And
And how many were killed?
something
How
very,
many
very,
Indians died during the
yeah,
World War?
not
Yeah.
only Second World War, even First World War. Your
Yeah.
Delhi monument of that gate is only for First World War. Anyhow, so do not, they are a declining power. On that, absolutely there is no doubt. In 1990, G7 had 52% of the global GDP. 1990 on purchasing power parity basis. Four emerging markets, India, China, Brazil, and Indonesia, had 30%. Today, G7 has got 30%, and the emerging markets has got 52%. And China alone is 17%. China and USA put together is around 47%. On a scale, purchasing power parity basis, China is number one today in economics. Number two is USA. Number three is India. Number four is Japan. So China is having something like 18 trillion US dollar as their GDP. Ours is 3 trillion US dollar. China is 18 trillion. And they are the largest manufacturing country in the world today. More than 50% of the world output is manufactured in China. So there is no comparison, and they would be recognized as a global leader sooner or later. They will be recognized as a single superpower. Europe will not fight. Europe has lost the will to fight, and they will go to pub and they will go to their musical festivals and other thing. That's all. The average Belgian army age you should know is 43, and his waist size also is 43. They cannot fight. Some Germans can fight, some Americans can fight. So there is nobody to, and look at the, I watch, for French TV, Russian TV, German TV, all these things. Nobody has condemned China. Only one Indian one beyond that WION. That only goes on telling China is this, China is that. That's a good point. I'm not against it. So there is globally, there is a recognition of China as a leader, which is not explicitly mentioned, which will be done in another 4 5 years. One. Second is, why are we wanting to contain China? I could never understand this at all. What is the advantage in containing China? And we join all these Quad, MAD, and other thing, and say that we jump here and there, and we talk about Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, Vada Pav, and other thing. Nobody takes us seriously. Let's be very clear about it. For 60 years in United Nations, we have been self-righteous. Madagascar, something happened. Uruguay, something happened. We will make our statement. we should say that we are not a wholesale seller of democracy in the world. We are not, we have not been given, God has told, go and sell. And our democracy is what is it? Except BJP and communists, all others are family run enterprises. What we call as democracy, 20 families are controlling this country, every state. And in that family, Bahu is doing this, Jamaat is doing it, and we are talking about democracy. And you want China to follow this? Why should they follow it? They follow their own system. And let's be very clear, again, let me repeat, China is not the Communist Party. They themselves say 12% is only the members. All other part of the society, we have never ever analyzed and understood and try to even do the fault lines, exploit it. 1 crore, 10 million people were displaced in the Three Gorges Dam. 1 million at least would have died. I wrote several letters that time that why don't we, look at it? Why don't we take steps to, find out what is happening there? Nothing we did. Oh, our Narmada Dam, one that Mela Petkar postponed it for 10 years. Our fault lines are very well known. Let's be very clear. We have all the four sides. There is no door in our house. All four sides is open. Dancing in the nakedness is seen by everybody. But in the case of China, there is a small, people is only available. And that people is also controlled by the Western countries. Through that, we are looking at it. We must start looking at China through Indian lens. This is fundamental and important. And global, as I told you, I told about the GDP, I told about even today, our trade with China is very large. We till September figure, December is much higher. We imported 43 billion, exported 15 billion. And our nuclear reactors, critical parts are imported from China. Let me tell you, even today. And the people are telling, we should do this, we should. Huge land mass of India is with Pakistan. We have not done anything. And people are talking about, Lahore, what do you call, Delhi, friendship and all these things. We have not even declared Pakistan as a terrorist country. We are telling everybody else that we have not considered them. We do have. So we require to have a solid dialogue with China on the land issue. On that, there is no two opinion. And the Chinese are very good in talking. They can talk for 9 hours without telling you anything. And in India, there are plenty of bureaucrats who can talk for 12, 15 hours without, at the end of it, you will not know what they were telling. Once Bhutto seems to have told, anecdotally, it is told to Indira Gandhi, don't send this Swaran Singh for discussion. We don't mind giving you the Kashmir. Because he speaks for 8, 9 hours. At the end of it, we don't know what he wanted to say. So there are plenty of leaders in India who can do this. So, and land issue nowhere in the world has been sorted out by other than by discussion today. That is first point. We should continue to talk with them 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. Nothing may come out of it. That's not the idea. At least there will be some amount of mutual understanding and mutual peace. Second is most important, many people forget this old thing, socialism. Today I heard this person, Mulayam Singh Yadav's son, he was telling socialism is our policy. That is the 19th century philosophy used in 20th century and thrown into newspaper basket. Nobody takes it seriously. Nobody talks in terms of communism, capitalism, and all that is gone. Whole world is getting restructured on civilizational basis. Take my word for it. That is what the Saudi Arabian MBS is understood. That is what they are doing. Iran is having a relationship with Iraq. Unbelievable. After having such a major war, many of the UAE and other countries are trying to have good relation with Saudi Arabia. So they are trying to create a bloc. We will have to wait and see. And Europe, a lot of people are belonging to what is called none. N-O-N-E. N-U-N-O. N-O-N-E. They give in the sense, what is your religion? No Christianity, no Islam, nothing. None. They are now some 25%. In US, it is some roughly of the order of 20%. And these nuns can't fight anything. They are woke, they are liberals, they are, anything, whatever word you want to use. They will not fight for anything. Already Europe is significantly impacted by Islam. It's called Eurobia. UK is gone. There is no two opinion about it. Don't go on arguing another thing. London is done, and it is accepted that it will be, and sooner or later people will accept Sharia also as one of the what one can call important dimensions of living. So the whole world is getting, and civilizationally we are very very linked with China. I have been to China. Many elderly Chinese think India is their elder brother, and they should be born here in order to get moksha. You go to their, they have opened up now their museums, their places. You will see Vishnu, Shiva, and other things. Some places people are burning incense sticks against this. We absolutely don't have any clue about China. Anything to do with China, we open New York Times and then read some article and blah blah blah. We say, how many these TV experts know what exactly is happening in China, sir? Nothing. All handed over by the US Embassy. White man, dangerous. I am telling you. He is on decline, and declining empires are more dangerous than rising empires. They will use it, they will fire bullets on your shoulder. They lie. And we traditionally we believe white men do not lie. That's one thing. And our umbilical cords are tied to the West. Let's be very clear about it. Our genetically we are tied to the West. If there is a seminar in IIC where a plumber from New York talks about Indian economy, the whole place will be full. Next room, a professor from IIM talks about, nobody will be there. And later on, somebody will say, he's a plumber only, sir. That doesn't matter, sir. He's white. This is the crux of the issue we should recognize. We are why? Because large number of our judges, our bureaucrats, our politicians, their children are all settled in US or UK, grandchildren, and these people want to get a green card and go and settle there. My request or demand will be all those who plan to settle in West should recuse themselves from taking any decision pertaining to India, Europe, and China. They should keep away. That is one fundamental point. Second is we are obsessed about Pakistan. Let me tell you the word I will use. Everything, the reason is also slowly I will explain. Most of the policy makers in foreign policy are all in that Punjab, Delhi, that belt. You should involve people from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and these places only. And because these people will once they will say about that Lahori thing and all that beautiful culture and other thing. Nothing. There is absolutely. Let's not be obsessed about Pakistan. We have a very good civilizational relationship with Pakistan. With China. Pakistan is nothing. It will be a mosquito. China will say keep quiet and Pakistan will keep quiet. There is absolutely, it's a poodle. When it was a poodle for USA for quite a long period of time, it's a international basket case. It doesn't have any on its own any economic power or any of these things. And the USSR will also be now it's not called USSR, it's Russia. Will also be enthusiastic in supporting this. They have always been a decent, good relation with us actually. So, what are the things we should do? Our leaders, our bureaucrats, our policy wonks, and all these fellows who want to settle with the green card in US, they should keep away from decision making. That is the first thing. Second is we must spend several crores, create huge number of Chinese study centers in India. We should create in terms of their culture, their art, their society. I'll tell you, very recently, I was there before COVID and post COVID in their People's Liberation Army website. They have published one sort of a photograph or a picture. It shows China sending rockets from the earth, and in Ganges near Ghat, our bodies are getting burnt. This was the picture which was shown. They have their own Twitter called Weibo. There was so much criticism about this in that by ordinary Chinese people. They are our neighbors. So why are you creating this? Why are you making this and other? Within a few weeks they have to remove that contrasting picture from their website. There
Oh,
is a, let me repeat it, there is a huge amount of goodwill for India among ordinary Chinese. China is not Z. Let's not get confused about it. There is a huge underbelly of ordinary Chinese who are, who actually they would love to come to India, see all the. Incidentally, after South Korea and Japan, they are the greatest tour people globally who are globetrotting are the Chinese, and they have a huge amount of upper crust, upper middle class, upper class, and other thing. We say some Mercedes Benz or sold some 8,000 cars in India. They are talking in terms of 8 lakh cars getting sold. There is no, their forex reserve is 6 trillion. Ours is reaching, just crossed half a trillion. Let's not try to, I'm not trying to minimize the impact of India or anything, but we should clearly understand. And first and foremost, we should come out of this obsession of containing China. Why should you? I don't understand. The 21st century is the Asian century. Let's be very clear about it. The white man century is over. Now it is yellow man. Then it will be brown man and then black man. It will come very, very. This is the cycle. And they are our younger brothers. And why should we, if they are doing economically well and other thing, why are we, we should be, if you ask me honestly, we should be happy about it. So this century is Asian century. Asian century doesn't mean only the Delhi century. Asian century include China also, China and India put together. So together, they are a very, very powerful hardware fellows in the world. They are phenomenally powerful hardware, and we are recognized as a phenomenally powerful software people. If we combine together, the whole thing will be different. We are good in adapting. We are not good in discovering. Let me be very blunt. For the last 80 years, tell me one product we have discovered which has conquered the world. Nothing. But they have their own, what one can call your Twitter. They have their own Facebook. They have their own, what one can call TikTok. Everything. There is nothing. And all the of course, people will say they stole from us, they took it. Is that our concern? How did they do it? They stole from US, and as if 45 trillion US dollar UK has stolen from us. Does anyone talk about it? 45 trillion. And 2,500 odd men, women, and unarmed children were killed on 1919 April 13 in Jallianwala Bagh, about which they have not done any, they have not what one can expressed even apology. Do we talk about it? Entire British Museum consists of looted article. You remove all of them, the museum will be empty. That's all. We don't, but we say Boris, and other thing, and we hug. And the third-rate university in UK, if we get admission, we jump. Everybody want to go there. I don't understand our perspective at all. But China, oh no, they are so all sorts of, and much of the is I would say the success of the Western propaganda. Nothing like that. Don't believe them. I am telling you again and again. They told Iraq has got a chemical weapon. They couldn't find even one bottle of hydrochloric acid. Forget about chemical weapon. And Iraq is in such a mess today after they have done their job. See, for them, their interest is dominant. Very important. They are not bothered whether we are, using Indians or whether you are, for them, we are all, sort of disposable assets. Anytime we should be, use and throw. That's all we can, and we shouldn't fall into their trap. Civilizationally, world is getting reorganized. Let me again and again make it very clear. We should be clear where do we want to be, in which block. Civilizationally, we are not closer to West. Civilizationally, they treated us pagans, and they don't give any importance to us at all. Civilizationally, we are only closer to China. And both of us are River Valley civilization. We are not desert civilization. Desert civilizations have their own different perspective, and so we have to be very, very clear. Where do we stand? I'm not talking about tomorrow. And our political fellows are all, empty-headed. Let me be very blunt about it. They think, winning another next election, everything will be fine. Winning election is not important. Running government is more important immediately, which nobody is doing. Everybody wants to win election, and no, all are glad. Much more important is 10 years down the line. Where are we? Are we in a position to play some? And all these things don't, tell me that, what Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam and all that I have heard enough in my 40 years of teaching life. This Vada Pav and other thing, nothing, nobody, take you seriously in the world. We give some grand talk and immediately TV says, Pakistan exposed. Last 70 years we are exposing Pakistan. What has come out of it, you tell me? Not one day has left without exposing Pakistan. Pakistan doesn't require exposure at all. Pakistan is like your, Hindi film item girl. There is no need for you to go on telling it is item girl, and everybody in the world knows. It's a basket case. It's desperate. It's not having any, and nobody, that's one of the passport where if you travel. And as I was jokingly told in Atlanta, somebody went with a Pak passport and in the checking counter of the airport. And that lady asked him, "Have you packed this bag yourself?" He told, "Yes." She told, "Then you come aside, come this side." So he's, because his passport is Pakistan, if you have packed the bag yourself, there is a very high risk of uh, taking you in. It's, I think we are completely wasting our time and energy. If at all we require, we should, facilitate all type of internal insurgency in Pakistan, and that's not required. Our friend China will take care of it. And let me let me tell you, which none of you might even know. Chinese treat Islam as a cult. They say it's a mental problem. Actually, they are the only country which explicitly specify about mental issues associated with this religions, and it requires to be treated. And that's why the reform, that camps they are sent another. And why are we? Why should we, shed tears? And their country, they are sending people to. And there is, fortunately, there are no high court or supreme court which will give some judgment that they are not mental and we are mental and all that thing there. They have their own system. Let's not try to think that we should sell our system. If you want to sell your system, you have to create 20 families there running political parties. In India, all political parties except BJP and communist are family parties. And then you say that, oh, this Bahu has gone there and this, the Mad has come here and nothing, all crackpot type of democracy we have got. And we are so proud about it. From Kashmir to Tamil Nadu, every political party, F20 I call them, 20 families are running this country. Are we not ashamed of it? The largest national party itself is controlled by a family. And we say that China should follow. Why should China follow our example? They have their own system. They never say that they never claim themselves to be communist. As I told you, only that Ganga Daba morning chai fellows think that China is a communist country. Nobody takes it very seriously, actually, as a communist country. Their economic power recognized to be recognized superpower explicitly. Civilizationally, we are much closer to them. We should recognize this and don't go for this white man. And don't believe white man doesn't tell lies. White man only tell lies. And he is not going to be you may have your grandchildren, working or studying or in USA. That's okay. There's nothing wrong about it. And we are spending 80 billion US dollar in educating our kids abroad. Do you know that? 80 billion US dollar. Our remittance from abroad is 80 billion. More or less, it cancels out. But we are a great software power. recognized all over the world, and they are a great hardware power. So don't go for all the containing. They will say contain China, and all this Quad and other thing, America, Australia and other. At the appropriate time, they will drop us like hot potato and go away. Then we will be holding the baby and looking at. Let me repeat it. Since she asked me to repeat it, the British commander told we will fight the German to the last Indian, and that is what they will do, and they are good at doing it. And we are, we are genetically, we always say look east, but our face is to the west only. Our face is to the west. We never looked at east. And this is the point I would like to stress. And this is nothing. I'm, incidentally, immediately don't curse. So this fellow is Chinese. I am no agent of anybody, and we have enough. And all these fault lines, everybody will exploit. Our fault lines are very well known. It's nothing, new or anything. But do we know any fault line of any other country? Nothing. We just go on jumping and shouting. Suddenly we say all of us are same, and different time, different thing. We say all of us are same, all beliefs are same, all religions are same. We say, and suddenly they say terror doesn't have religion, and suddenly we also claim religion doesn't have terror. We are a highly confused group of people. We should be very clear who is nearer to us civilizationally, historically, not today or tomorrow. And civilizationally, the Indic roots civilization, Buddhist, Jains, and Hindus and other thing are all on same type of a platform. Different type of variations will be there and other. So let's be clear. It's not our job to contain China. The only issue with China is land. That we say that they have occupied some portion of our land, and there is suddenly one report comes, the Pentagon origin report, that Arunachal Pradesh they have named. We can also produce a map with Shanghai and Peking as part of India. Who is going to prevent you? Have you ever done that? 80 years, BBC is telling Indian administered Kashmir. I have written 100 letters. We should also tell England administered, Scotland, or England administered Wales. We never do that. Why are we, we are just, let me be very blunt. We are a whining baby, permanently whining baby, and obviously nobody gives us any major importance. And the white thing that these fellows are suckers, the greatest suckers, and we will use in the chessboard India as a counterpoint, because they cannot directly deal with China. As I told you, my French colleague told, and China name is mentioned, most of the leaders in Europe are wetting their pant. They cannot. Germany has recently concluded a major trade agreement. They have a huge trade things with China. No country, third wave, fourth wave. One thing, we say Wuhan virus and other. Nobody is telling that. When the pig virus was there in Japan, it was called Japanese encephalitis. When Ebola river based, it was called Ebola virus. When it was Spanish. But when it come to China, it's not Chinese. It's some alpha, beta, gamma, kappa, and other thing. And in between, one Indian variation is also talked about. You understand the power of China today. And directly, from Wuhan, it went into Milan. It didn't go to Shanghai or Peking or anything. Let me repeat, in 6-7 years, everybody in the world has to accept, whether you like it or not, that China is the SSP, single superpower. Exactly in 1950, what US was recognized. US is also be a power, because US society is in shambles. Nobody talks about it. 52% last year of childbirth is out of wedlock. Their social systems are in chaos, actually. They cannot be world leaders or anything. And so this is the picture. And everybody joining, some white man will write in another 2 weeks, China is going to collapse. Chinese banks are failing. Why Indian banks are also failing? Many Indian banks have failed, actually. And we never say India is collapsing. right? And China's real estate is collapsing. Our real estate is also, many of the fellows have, and some of them are sitting in the tax events every day, the TV shows, and we eagerly think that those fellows will come back. Nobody will. And so, what I want to stress is the crooks are there everywhere. There are good Chinese, there are bad Chinese, there are crooked Chinese there, but that's not our concern. So this waiting for Godard, waiting for China to collapse is the most idiotic thing which we can think of doing. Xi may go, but somebody else will come. So that's their system. Why are we trying to? We I think we have suddenly arrogated ourselves to the role of wholesale distributors of democracy, which is a family of 20 families controlling in India. You can't distribute this. It's not our concern, or it's not our edict. They will have their own system. So, single point problem is land between us. The only way to solve it, I have Swaran Singhs and their side enough Z's are there too. They will go on talking and talking, and will anything come out of it? Nothing may come out of it. It's all right. But we will continue to discuss and talk another thing. With Pakistan, when we can have dialogue, when Britain, which has done 45 trillion US dollar, you convert, they have looted from our country. We say it's all okay, another thing. When Queen comes, we wave our hand, another. Anyhow, so we should move out of the white syndrome. We should get into the factual position of Asian century. We should recognize, and let me repeat, if we two combine together, we will be able to face the Islamic thing, which Europe cannot face, which England cannot face. US anyhow is separate. They have their own internal crisis and problem. And civilizationally, world is getting reorganized. We should join with the Chinese, which are much more closer to us civilizationally. And let me be very blunt, they are spiritually starved today. They are economically very well off. That's why the church is gone inside. It used to be underground church. Now it has become overground. They are playing a very major. My colleague at Shanghai always used to say, "Why are you people silent? Why do you not come? Invade us." In the sense, not in the sense of with the guns and thing. Invade us with your. We have phenomenal amount of spiritual dimensions which we can offer to them. Their middle class is starved of this. Let's recognize it and let's exploit it. Last, I would like to mention, we should treat China like rabdi making. I'm sure many of you have seen how rabdi is made. If you go to northern India, any town I have seen, even in Ahmedabad I have seen, they have a huge kadai. And rabdi is nothing but condensed milk, And they do it on the street actually. In Lucknow I have seen huge kadai. They burn. The fire is below. And the man has got one fan in his hand, and he does very quickly try to cool it. So heat it from below and cool it from above. This is what is the fundamental strategy of rabdi making. This is what we should follow. This is what Chanakya has advised. This is what Shivaji. Heat it from below. Get to know their fault lines. Get to know their youngsters, society. Influence them another thing, and cool it from above. Go on. And talks we can always continuously do. And people are telling, what about Taiwan? And nothing will come out of all these things. They are all in what in UP parlance called Nuri Kusti. I don't know whether many of you are aware of it. What is that? Nuri Kusti is something like your W.
Noora Kushti.
Huh?
Noora
Huh?
Kushti. Noora Kushti.
Like your WWF, I'll kill him, I'll finish him off. Today is his last day. Nothing will. They will just go and stand, and it's like our political leaders claiming, because everybody knows the other fellow is also Nanga. So there is no point in trying to, and people really think that 200 crore has been found. Nothing will happen. 200 crore has been found. That's all. Nothing is going to be. There is nothing called crime and punishment in our country. In our country, it is crime and Padma Sri or Padma Bhushan only. That's all. Not That Dostoevsky, if he were alive, he would have written different book here, Crime and Bharat Ratna, like that one book he would have written. So there is no need for us to get exaggerated notion about our great democracy, and China should follow nothing. China will follow their own system. Let's be very clear about it. Land, as I told you, we should discuss. And bureaucrats, politicians who have a vested interest should recuse from the entire China debate and discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Vaidyanathan, for a very insightful and a very entertaining talk as well. I couldn't help but burst into laughter every now and then. Um, now, I fully agree with you that India is not only ignorant about China, but uses, as you said, the Western lens to look at its most important neighbor. I fully agree with you that our civilizational heritage is so enormous. And what is more important, which you didn't get time to emphasize, and I'll do it for you, pretty much on the lines you were talking, that China is one country, unlike the West, which has parasited on Indian knowledge, traditions, and systems, and science, and technology, and culture, so everything,
Yeah,
including
100.
soft power, including yoga, and yet they just parasite on it, never acknowledge. If anything, they spit on us. They will take away Sanskrit heritage, all the knowledge contained in those classics, and then declare Sanskrit is a dead language, it's atrocity literature, and make us ashamed of it, as if it's mumbled. So, also the Arab world has now forgotten its knowledge debt to India, but China and the entire Eastern bloc does recognize. Thailand does recognize. Korea does recognize. The entire Eastern world, and China especially. China especially, and you're right, they have at least 16 to 17 major study centers in India. And the Chinese studies programs, little tiny jokes, farcical jokes we have. One was based at CSDS, where I was a professor. Then it became, they're chamchas. All they do, the point you were making is understand their strengths and their fault lines and their weaknesses and learn to play on both. You can't just exploit fault lines unless you also understand the strengths. And we use the Western lens to be intimidated by the strength of China without understanding the fault lines and their hunger for India's soft power. Their hunger for India's soft power is much greater than for Indian market. The market, they have global market. But what they know they can get from India, they can't get. And which is why I'm aware how well received Sri Ravi Shankar and his Art of Living Foundation is in China. Enormous interest. Thousands and lakhs gather for the AOL sessions. And we just, I mean, they do also in Mongolia. How many people even know Mongolia exists on the map of India? I mean, on the
Correct.
map of the world. No, but, Mongols ruled over us. Today, they are seeking out our soft power. Again, AOL is the one of the very few organizations which has actually a very active presence in these countries. And we don't pay attention even to the work that AOL is doing. I wish we would. I do personally keep very close track of the wonderful work that Sri Ravi Shankar is doing on a global scale, and winning over hearts and winning over minds in a very gentle, kind, compassionate way. And yet, uh, there's very little recognition of it anyway. Similarly, we can recover so much lost knowledge if we were to take Chinese translations of our Sanskrit classics, which were burned down by the Islamists. Much of what was burnt in Nalanda and elsewhere burned down. They have taken, they have translated, and we're not bothering to do that. All of that, I fully, fully, fully agree with you. And most important of all, despite being neighbors, we never had a war till 1960s thanks to Nehru's blunders. Chini Hindi bhai bhai, and yet the most blunderous foreign policy Nehru ran. And since then, we haven't really done course correction in a serious manner. I mean, thousands of years of close bonding, no war, and suddenly China becomes our major enemy. Now, all that fully agree. We need to reverse this idiocy. But what I want to know is communist China, or not communist, sorry, you're right. China is not communist except in the eyes of JNU Daba, Bunga Daba, and JNU political science and sociology and economic centers. Other than that, you're right. But most people are puzzled why China teams up with Pakistan against India in the UN as well. I mean, why they would deprive India of Security Council? Why are they instigating Maoist and other insurgencies in India? If they value us so much, why are they doing all that? And how do we neutralize it? Just by talk, just by offering them yoga classes and setting up Sanskrit Vidyalayas in or whatever else in China. How do we do that?
How do we do that? Mean we should first know what are their fault lines. They know our fault lines very well. Any country which knows your fault line will exploit that. Very simple. And as far as the relationship with our other country, because we are talking about containing China openly. The government of India wants to contain China. It's a rubbish policy. If you ask me, if I were a Chinese leader, I will be worried. And
True.
why are you becoming a pawn in the hands of these, what they call Quad and other thing?
Devilish
Australia.
Western countries,
See,
they never stood by us. I think the
let
most
me
important takeaway, Dr.
understand.
Vaidyanathan,
We know the Chinese society. We know the fault lines in their society. Incidentally, they are very appreciative of our culture, as you rightly told. Shanghai has got a statue of Kalidas, which is very highly regarded there. India, you don't have a Kalidas statue at all. You have the statue of Babar and Akbar and other thing. And that Calcutta, when they renamed Theatre Road, some of us wrote, name it as Kalidas Avenue. No, they named it as Shakespeare Avenue. So, let's not try to, look at it from one dimension. We must, as I told you, Three Gorges Dam, what did we do? Zero. We didn't say anything. Even that normal vada pav we talk in United Nations, we don't talk.
what is this vada pav simile you use?
All
What
this
does that vada pav mean?
all this self-righteousness, somewhere in Uruguay, some dictatorship would have been thrown out or something like that. We will immediately spring up in United Nations and condemn. This is not acceptable. You know that Bolton, when he was US Secretary to UN, you openly displayed actually after getting so many funds according to him from US and other thing, 92% of the times we have voted against Israel.
Yeah, stupid, beyond comprehension.
92% of the time. And what did we get? This is what I call vada pav.
Kick in the
Not
gut.
a
No,
single,
this is
not a
kick in the
single
gut.
time not a single time OIC has made any positive remark about India and Kashmir. And the BBC every day says India administered Kashmir. We don't care about it because we are all very fond of white people. And those some idiot put Arunachal some names in Chinese, we immediately say that we should take. I shouldn't use the word. We are a crazy country actually.
No, but okay, now to give you the flip side, here again, the people of
See,
India. One
you
second,
can't.
one second.
Can you create an insurgency inside any location of China? Tell me
No.
why? After 70 years, and you are telling they are exploiting Nakshal problem, this problem, that problem. We can't do it because we have never ever studied China. Some 2, 3 people were funded in JNU or CFDR. I don't think they ever studied China.
No, they're a joke. If you
Then
see our Chinese studies scholars, they're really a farcical. Now, but the more important point, which strengthens what you're saying in some part, which is that the Indian people are far ahead of the Indian government in this, because so many shifted their manufacturing base to China. They didn't care about the propaganda. They're doing very well, those who shifted to China. And they have a lot to teach our government about Chinese ecosystem for promoting enterprise. But the
Madhuji,
government,
I have always
huh,
maintained Indian society is very organized society. Indian government is totally disorganized.
is organized.
Whereas the Western society is disorganized.
Yeah,
Western governments are organized. This we should understand. Indian society is far ahead of the government. And
true.
the growth and the development in India which has taken place is in spite of the government. Government is an
True.
obstacle. Let me be very
Is
blunt.
an obstruction. No, I know so many friends of mine
No,
who have
I will
set
tell
up
you a simple
businesses there.
example, which is known long time before. Kanchi Mutt in South was invited by China to visit. At that time, UPA government told no, no need for you to go. Similarly, now I am telling, why don't government of India insist that Hinduism should be accepted as a religion, and then open it up for all our, like Baba Ramdev, who can take the front belly to the back and then, stand. China will be enormously, fascinated by it actually. These
Kalidas
are
centers, Chanakya centers. We can have
everything
so
we can
many
do.
centers, and all we do is Nehru centers. Though nobody in the world is
Forget about.
interested in
We
Nehru and
can,
his
and
number.
then in software we can be very much inside China. China requires huge amount of software professionals with some amount of knowledge of Mandarin. We could have, instead of sending all these people to US and UK, we can as well send them to China. Anyhow, our
Okay,
mindset has to change.
no, our, don't say our, say the dunderheads who run the government, their mindset needs to change. I don't think, as I said, so many people have shifted base to China. So many of my friends, people in my circle, within my extended family, have a lot to say. And believe you me, after your talk today, whenever I get a chance to take a trip anywhere, right now I have a fractured leg and other ailments, but my first trip now will be to China. I, so many of my relatives who've been there have wonderful things to say. Um, so many businessmen who have invested there. I wish the government of India would listen to them. In fact, they are punished so harshly. For example, when they had this fracas with China and they suddenly stopped imports, shipments, loads were kind of docked in the yards. Our what are they called? Where the ships come to unload. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Shipping yards.
India, yes, and the government would neither say yes nor no. They ruined our own people who had spent a lot of money bringing in whatever the marketeer needed, and the government would neither let them in nor say send it back. And there's such chaos, economic chaos, as a result of all this. But I wish they would learn from people who have invested there, because this business community, apart from the Ravi Shankar type of efforts, and Baba Ramdev would be a great hit. So many other yoga spiritual gurus would be, but also the business community that has invested and have really developed good relations. I used to be puzzled how they manage there, because we have this image that they are such an oppressive society and poor Indians. How do they work there? But how do they work in the Gulf countries where they're not even treated as human beings? Actually, those who go and invest in Islamic countries, in the in search of petrodollars, they have to have a business partner who's of that country. They cannot run their businesses in their own name. They can be booked under fake cases anytime. We know very well how much trouble people have faced there. We don't stop sending our business there. We don't stop lionizing the money that's coming from there. But we don't pay equal attention to those who built economic ties, solid economic ties with China, and to learn from there. We just don't seem to bother. I think you really, and I think the most important takeaway is West is indeed on the decline, and declining powers are very dangerous. Also, West has never stood by us, never once. They've looted us, and they defamed us, and they demonized us. But China, because once in a while it votes against us in the Security Council or in the UN, but we never remember what we do to Israel, a permanent ally, and yet we let them down. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to learn from this. Tell me, one politician, what's happening to your eyes? Are they hurting?
No,
Are
no,
your
no,
eyes?
no.
Oh, I
No,
thought there's something. I was going
no, no.
to.
I'll put the
Uh,
specs on.
no,
Okay.
the only one politician who seems to have cultivated apparently very close bonding with Chinese leaders is Subramaniam Swamy. Am I right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And they do respond to his overtures.
But whatever said and done, he is a politician. So currently, he has got his own views and other thing, right? But we must have large number of people. According to me, at least some 15,000 people. You should be able to say they are all doing Chinese studies, Chinese this Mandarin studies, and so many things. We
We
don't
don't
have.
even do Pakistani studies. Professor Vaidyanathan, tell me, how many Indians have studied Pakistan? How many good books and how many good scholars on Pakistan have you produced, or on Afghanistan, or on Sri Lanka? Nothing. Zilch. Zilch.
Agreed.
If you don't even study Pakistan and Pakistan's fault lines, in a serious way, in the way they keep on harassing us for every scratch that a Pelu Khan may suffer from, we don't even bother about the plight of Hindus in Pakistan. Tell me a good study done on Hindus in Pakistan or Hindus in Bangladesh. Not one. The government could be commissioning. They could be issuing a white paper year after year on the status of Hindus in Pakistan and Bangladesh. No, they dare not even do that. So, as far as studies is concerned, we neither allow ourselves to, our government doesn't allow us to study ourselves, our own past, our heritage, doesn't allow and doesn't encourage study with countries that matter so much to our well being in bad or good ways. I don't know what we're about. It's such a despairing picture in a manner of speaking.
That is what I call vada pav. Okay.
But you are a South Indian, you love your vada pav. I know how much you enjoy. So why would you make
No,
fun of you
no,
vada pav?
vada pav is much, much more Mumbai based. Of course, for people in Delhi, even Bombay is south.
Oh, vada
This
pav,
is,
of course, is Maharashtrian. No, I was getting
yeah.
it mixed with
But if you
vada.
lot of
What?
people in Delhi, I know, they think that Maharashtra is South India.
No,
But
no, I meant I was mistaking it with idli and vadas that you have. But
that's
you're
a
right,
separate.
that's a
Anyhow,
Maharashtrian
just
street
matter of
food.
usage. That's all. Nothing
No, but
more.
you're right, it's a street food. And it belongs nowhere, actually. I mean, it's not
Correct.
part of any traditional Indian
No,
cuisine.
no, nothing.
Mm. A double roti and kind of mix of all kinds of vegetables smished with a little bit of butter. Yeah, you're right. Now I understand what you meant by vada pav politics.
We
Okay,
have just
great.
sort of self-righteous. That's all we are. Nothing more,
No,
nothing less.
no, we are not. Our government is, and
Yeah, yeah.
intellectual class, the self-appointed social political guardians of our morality, are stricken with self-righteous. I think most Indians are far more realistic about their position in the world, and therefore they're branching out into the whole world on the strength of their hard labor and their
Correct.
understanding of opportunities. They
Yeah,
they
yeah.
do citizens do far better than the government, and the government really mainly has nuisance value. I've
Yeah.
really enjoyed your lecture, Professor
Thank you.
Vaidyanathan.
And trust the Indian society to do good. I'm telling you, not the government. You are right, actually.
Yes, I agree with you. So we shouldn't
Yeah.
curse ourselves. We do well despite the government.
Yes.
And
Very
India is
correct.
one of the few countries where government only and only has nuisance value.
Correct.
And and what's needed, actually, this is one sentence of Gandhi which I still hold dear, which is the only thing people need is to get the government off their backs.
Correct.
And we've never been a top governed society, which is what now we've been forced to
We are actually
become.
locally governed, self-regulated society, actually,
That's
significantly. Thank you very
and we
much.
thank you, Professor Vaidyanathan.
Sure.
Enjoyed your talk, and there's a lot of takeaway. As I said, I
I
used
only
to have.
hope some of the skeptics might have got some, inputs to munch, right?
You
So,
want to see the comments? Would you like me to read out some?
yeah, nothing.
Okay, here's Rahul Bhatia. India should work towards making Tibet and Aksai Chin independent. Our foreign policy lacks this aspect. What do you say to this?
Okay. No, no, no. These are all, making other country independent and other thing is not our going to work at all in this contemporary world.
What about Tibet? What should we do with Tibet?
Nothing, civilizationally we are together and it would get sorted out by itself as an autonomous region or anything. That's all. We should start with the approach of civilization based approach, not based upon antagonism.
No, also, if we were interested, really interested in Tibet, the least should have done is to promote Tibetan studies among Hindus. So, and to
Yeah,
recover so many millions of manuscripts that were
manuscripts
translated
are lying there actually.
into Tibet, because all these scholars who came from China, Tibet, they translated a lot of our Sanskrit texts. And we're not that bothered. There's not a single Tibetan studies department, serious department anywhere in India. And yet
Nothing.
we claim to be interested in Tibet. Uh, Terrible. Anyway,
Terrible.
any other?
Correct.
You have to get on to Super Chat to ask questions, but let me say,
Yeah,
the
that's
dust.
okay. Yeah.
If only China and Russia realized the Vedic Itihas connection of their Vedic ancestors, then Russia, China, India could form a Vedic power. What do you say to that?
Yeah, in a sense, instead of talking about civilizational thing, it is much more rooted in the sense going back in time of Vedic, which is similar actually. I'm telling you, the desert cults are in decline, and both the desert cults, which have dominated the world, are going to have huge problem. And the NONE is increasing in Europe and US. And this is what is the shape of the world to come up. And we are just blabbering 18th, 19th century, all those philosophies of, socialism, communism, capitalism, and all those are gone actually. This side and that side, nobody cares now actually. So we should be very, very, whether it is government owned, whether it is private owned, and huge amount of big corporations. Some other time we will talk about it actually. They are
Okay,
beginning to control the world. Sovereign
true.
states are trembling before your
True.
Amazon and your Microsoft and other thing. They dictate terms today,
Or
not
even pharma
hmm?
companies,
Which
pharma
one?
companies,
Of course,
pharma.
all the I'm talking about in all the lines, huge. That's we will take up in some other time
Okay,
that topic
we'll do it.
separately. The global
Okay,
MNCs.
here is a question. Rajkumar Singh says, Why no Muslim organization offer fatwa against radical Islam, terrorism? No, against China. Somebody said, why is it that they never criticize China, the Muslims?
Yeah, I tell you, people are afraid of China. I think people are not recognizing it at all. Let me be very clear about it, people. And it is such a big power today. I
Mm.
am, lightheartedly that French professor told me, you mentioned the name of China, many leaders in Europe wet their pants. He's serious about it.
Can you envisage a possible confederation between India and China? Then we are indefatigable. India, China combined.
Yeah, it'll make
Federation
a
in the way
tectonic change,
European Union
and
became.
it will end the desert cults. It will bring to an end what started in the deserts of Arabia in the name of, I call them cult, I don't call them religion anyhow. And
Then why
that
they allow Christianity to come and start opening churches there?
yeah. And anyhow, we
Why?
are not understanding
Why is
civilization.
China allowing churches to set
What
up
what
different?
else they can do internally? But incidentally, you should know that Chinese church is the Chinese church only. It's not dictated from Vatican. We should have gone for an Indian church actually. You know
Okay.
the head
No,
of
we
the
don't want any church. Please,
huh?
please, we don't want any church. No, I don't want to live in the shadow of Christianity or Islam. Please, there's
No,
no
no,
Indian
no.
church.
You are not getting my point.
I'm
When
getting
it
your
was
point, but I'm saying we've gone too far in the other direction. This
yeah, yeah.
Indian church नहीं चाहिए. वो कर रहे हैं ना Indian
Not no,
church.
not today. It should have been done in the 50s. We didn't do that. That's all. Right?
No, but
And
the
The churches
ideology
are
is
decided by
watching.
the Chinese government. Who should head the Chinese church is decided by the Chinese government. Right? I tell you again and again, they are spiritually starved, which we are not understanding at all.
True, true.
Okay.
Okay, with these, we will wind up today's discussion. Thank you for a very insightful analysis, and we bring you on the entire global economy
Yeah,
perspective and the corporates
sure.
having taken over the real power, and how
Yeah,
European states and the Western governments are really puppets in the hands of their
yeah. I hope a
corporations.
couple of people are watching our thing.
Oh,
Anyhow.
plenty are watching. There are many comments. There are many comments. We had switched on what we call super chat, and I was hoping people would ask you because this way I can't read hundreds of comments that have come.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we enabled 2 days ago. We had enabled super chat, so people can actually ask questions of you. But I think they're just absorbing. I see hundreds of comments on
Oh,
my
very good.
screen. Huh.
So we
Uh,
will come to the global corporation
yeah.
some other time,
No,
right?
there's too many comments. I couldn't possibly deal with them. I'm just going down and down the line. You
Thank
possibly
you.
can't.
Thank you,
Thank you. Thank you.
Madhuji.
Thank you very
Thanks a lot.
much. कुछ तो बोलने दे. Friends, thank you very much for watching. I'm sure you enjoyed Professor Vaidyanathan's talk as much as I did. Please do share, like, subscribe to our channel, and please get on to Super Chat. That's the only way I can pay attention to your questions. We started it just 2 days ago. And the whole idea is that this way I have to go through hundreds of comments to pick and choose which ones to display on the screen for the person who's giving you a lecture. That's very taxing on me, and therefore the super chat. Those of you who are really serious about your questions, please use super chat. And in the meantime, do like, share, and subscribe to Manushi channel. Shubhratri, good
Thank
night,
you very much.
and
Thanks
Jai
to the audience. Thanks to you. Thank you.